Thank you very much. Item D tonight is a public hearing regarding the adoption of a work plan and extend the time frame associated with interim regulations for temporary homeless encampments. And I think Rebecca and Kevin may tag team on this presentation.
Yes, so, exactly. So I'm going to give you the general description of the code amendments before you, and then more specific questions I will defer to our city attorney, Kevin Rogerson. So what I wanted to go over tonight was basically background, what are homeless encampments, why are we as the city regulating this, provide an overview of the regulations that are contained in the ordinance before you, and then of course give you the staff recommendation. As you'll recall, in January of this year, City Council adopted Ordinance 3707, adopting interim regulations. I did put here through a moratorium, but that is my bad. Our city attorney has corrected me tonight, and that's true. I tend to say that just because of the statute that allows us to do this also deals with moratoriums. So we are not instituting a moratorium. We've adopted interim development regulations through that statute. So after we enacted ordinance, or City Council adopted Ordinance 3707. Following that, within 60 days of that ordinance, came back to City Council and you adopted Ordinance 3710 that just continued those interim regulations in place. So what are homeless encampments? This is something that I've been asked quite a bit, had emails and phone calls from different members of the public, so I thought I would add this slide here. So what the interim regulations define these as, it's an encampment for homeless persons that's on property owned or controlled by a religious organization, whether within buildings located on the property or elsewhere on the property outside of buildings. So these types of encampments can be inside a building or outside of a building, but does need to be on property owned or controlled by a religious organization. So I thought I'd give you a few pictures because this is part of the question of what people ask me, and they'll say, do you mean tent cities? I'll say, yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. So just to hit home of what are we talking about when we talk about homeless encampments. This isn't everything that this ordinance would regulate, but in general, this is what we're talking about. These are two different tent cities that have been set up in the city of Seattle. And why is the city regulating these? Is another question I've got. Why would we be putting in place interim regulations? So when we look at the ordinance, really what we really have to hit home, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we're protecting the public health and safety, number one, but at the same time, and this is right out of the purpose section of this code, not substantially burdening decisions or actions of religious organizations that wish to provide shelter to the homeless. And that's a legal issue that Kevin can speak more to of why that's important, that we are not burdening those types of organizations. And we know, because this isn't an issue that just the city of Mount Vernon is dealing with, there are cities all across the country that are dealing with these issues. And so we are very well aware of the issues that we could potentially be facing. There's been a lot of lessons learned where other encampments have been established. Drug use, drug paraphernalia, garbage, unsanitary conditions. In addition to, you can, I'm sure, imagine the neighbors when these facilities go up next to somebody's neighborhood, how concerned they are and the number of complaints any city would get. With regard to some of these effects, pictures of, these are from, both of these are from Seattle in 2016. This is why we want to regulate this.